Hi, insiders. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday, the Tuesday before what we say the holiday season officially begins. We are live streaming today via LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So excited to be back yapping with our Insiders community live. Honestly, for yet another highly requested topic. This one kind of segues and piggybacks off of our earlier webinar we did during the month of October, which was all around community building, one on one. All of the Insider Masterclass replays are available for now on the agency YouTube. So after we're done here, okay, over the holiday break, when you don't know what to do, there are a number of live streams available for your viewing pleasure. Hours of insights, hours of marketing gems, you already know. And yes, just a little housekeeping. Okay, if you are new here, hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jazz Jackson. I'm the founder, CEO of Unearthly Studios. We're a creative agency that focuses on all things organic social, brand and creative strategy, experiential events. We're moving our visual production offering into beta as we enter 2026, along with some other offerings really tailored for artists, creators, and visionary brands in mind who are ready to invest in themselves, in their business to achieve their full potential. I have been working within different facets of marketing, okay, for over 13 years now, which is insane. Something that I always tell people, I think I say this to myself a few times a week, is that social is always evolving. It has not stopped. And as someone, okay, who is all in on social, and when I say all in, I mean more than my full time, okay? Live, breathe, eat social, conferences, webinars, reading articles every other day on what is really changing on these social platforms. Now, as a consumer, you might not notice a lot of these changes off the bat, or maybe if you're posting just occasionally. But for the artists, the creators, the brands who are using this to connect with their own audiences, build and cultivate your fan base, maybe you're selling your own product or service, these tools matter. And the strategy that you have for the platforms that you decide to be active on does truly matter. So that is the topic of today's live stream. As I said, this topic has been highly requested all around. Okay, Jazz, what platforms should I be on? Where does my audience potentially already live and exist? Often, everyone knows the big platforms like the big six or seven, the Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, X slash Twitter, threads of Pinterest of the world. But there are other incredible emerging and or established platforms that it honestly might make sense for you to be on and or potentially experiment with and try out, especially when we know now as we are about to enter 2026. Instagram, Facebook, these are platforms that have been around for a while, right? They're pretty friggin' saturated, billions of users. TikTok is no longer in its prime of the 2019 to 2021, where it was so easy to go viral and it seemed like every piece of content or creative you posted did exceptionally well organically. As we can see, it's really no longer the case. Now, when it comes to platform strategy, there are platforms that it's going to make sense for you to exist on. Most of our clients, our artists, right, audiences exist on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, for example. But as I mentioned, and we're going to dive into this today, there are other numerous, probably dozens of platforms I could talk about that are really perfect. And You may just not have tried it, tested, and figured out how to incorporate it intentionally into your own creative slash brand strategy. So, hi, all of my insiders on IG. Okay, okay. For Instagram, I like to keep this as interactive as possible. Please, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, and/or feedback, use the comment box on IG. If it shows you the Q&A box, please do not use that. I cannot see those via our streaming platform. So use the comments. And then for LinkedIn, YouTube, you are in for a treat. So if you do want to join over on YouTube, I would highly recommend it at Unearthly Studios. You can share your question, feedback. I can actually pull those on the screen, okay? Give you a little love. And as I mentioned, I love yapping with y'all. So please drop those thoughts, feedback, questions, all of it. And I'm gonna get into it because if you know me and you've been here a while, I can yap. I can yap. So I got 60 minutes of gems and insights all around platform strategy. So really, I wanted to kind of set the stage for a little bit of context setting today. Hi, what is up? Hi, Vicky. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. HubSpot. Yes, I am very familiar with HubSpot. It's not one that I was going to yap about today, but I was just talking to one of our clients about HubSpot a few days ago on our strategy session, and HubSpot is great. I've used it when I worked on the agency side, when I was working with a bigger book of clients, definitely has a lot of great enterprise level features. So not currently using HubSpot, but yes, I love them. And yeah, it's pretty comprehensive with what HubSpot can do. And yeah, too, on that note, since we're talking about platforms today and platform strategy, if there's any platforms that you're curious about, maybe you heard about, drop them in the comments and I can make sure I touch base on them. There might be one I'm sure there's so many I don't even know about. But for sure, I always love chatting about different platforms. And then also, too, not just social platforms of like, hey, here's what you can post on just like organically, a lot of what we'll talk about, but also different tools, tech that you can utilize within your creative business to really help you move the needle, stay organized, scheduling tools, all of those good things. I would be nothing without mine. So yeah, I'm always here for any recommendations for tools, tech, all of those things too, as we go along today. So, just for some context setting before I start talking about where social is, I feel, this is my opinion, is moving in 2026. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes on context setting. So, I talk about this a lot, and I wanted to kind of bring this back up because it's still so challenging. There is so much focus on what we call in marketing world vanity metrics. So those are like, oh, how many likes did I get? How many followers do I have? Um, it could even be down to things like engagement, etc., or comments. When we're thinking about where social used to be, even just a few years ago, I say social media, you know, if y'all can see who's posting on your feed and find your people, you let me know. But we're no longer being served who necessarily we're following. We are being served creators, brands, and content that we are truly interested in. So, with the way social has shifted, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper now, there's also been this shift from those vanity metrics to conversion driven platform strategy. Now, look, a lot of us marketers, we've been doing this, okay? Nothing's changed, not really. Everything's been a funnel since the dawn of time of how do I get someone to like learn about me, like or discover me, right? If you're an artist, that's at the top, okay? The funnel goes down. I usually have a graph, but we're not using that today. But we got that awareness, that discoverability, which sits at the top. And then, people see your content, you posting, etc. Da 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 da. And then, oh, okay, maybe they follow you. Or because in 2025, you can just like content, never follow that account. But the algorithm, right? Because it's interest, right? It's gonna serve you that person anyway. So, which is why followers, not that they're irrelevant, I wouldn't say that. It's a signal, but focusing on I gotta get to 10,000 followers or 100K before I can do XYZ. False. False on so many levels. I have seen it. Look, false. I know people that got like 500 followers on Instagram and they make multiple six figures a year. So it's not about followers at all. So we are really shifting away from the vanity metrics of likes, right? A lot of people's organic reach, especially this time of year, is in the trash, but it's a signal. We're really focused on something I yap about all the time, which is community and moving down into thinking, especially when we're working with artists and clients, it's how are we taking someone that maybe just listened to a song of yours, or maybe they saw a couple videos and they, decided to follow you. How do we take them from being maybe like, oh, this is cool, I'm interested, to, oh, yeah, I'm really now tapped in, to, oh, okay, I'm a fan. Like, I want to go to your show. I want to buy your merch when it drops. And or for another creator, maybe you're a photographer who's on Instagram showcasing your prints or your artwork, and your next step is you want to show your artwork so you can then sell your own prints, or maybe you plan on hosting your own exhibit at a gallery and doing a event or a showcase as examples. So it is really, when I think about social strategy, content strategy, when we're building out campaigns and strategies for our clients, we're I don't care about a like we don't care about followers, like we're not even focused on that as our metrics usually, because we're so focused on, okay, how are we really taking them down a conversion funnel that enables them, that motivates them, that inspires them to take an action. So I also acknowledge that our audience, we got a diverse audience in our insiders community. We got artists, creatives, music business professionals, and visionary brands that we work with, that our community is made up of. And I'm gonna keep this as broad as possible because I could get nitty gritty. But if you have a specific question as it pertains to you personally, feel free to drop it in the comments on the platforms that you're viewing from, and be sure to answer it live. If you're catching the replay, you can still put comments on the videos on LinkedIn and YouTube. Our team will be taking a look, and we'll be sure to follow up, answer those in future content, spotlights, etc. And yeah, also next week, we're diving, not next week, on the 9th, we're diving deep into 2026 social media trends and predictions. So I'm gonna do a little teaser of where social is going in 2026 now, but come back on the 9th, okay? Come back, because we're gonna do a whole nother webinar that really shares some insights on where we feel things are going. So just checking to see if there's any other questions, comments that have come in. Do, 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 do. And yeah, any questions? I am taking a look as I go through. But moving into where social is moving in 2026, I wish today I could talk about it a lot more, but alas I can't. But the shift from broadcasting to building. We did a whole webinar on community building. Run that up, okay? But community over content in 2026. If it hasn't been evident and if it hasn't been apparent yet, I hope it is now. I I have been beating this, preaching this for years, but this is why I'm here, to help you, okay, achieve your full potential. And what I'm telling y'all, okay, here in November, before we enter 2026, if you have not been focusing on really nurturing relationships with your audiences, your fans, your community. If you haven't thought about, hey, what does the community look like for me with what I'm doing, with what I'm passionate about? Those are things that I would definitely start thinking about. Community can also exist in so many places, which is why we're talking about platforms today. On each of these social platforms, the big six or seven that I alluded to earlier, they most of them now have integrated and or are currently integrating community first features into the platforms. We shared our insiders newsletter that touched base on a few of these that I'm going to hit on today, but let's take Instagram for example. They rolled out broadcast channels. As soon as broadcast channels dropped, told all of our clients, as soon as you have the ability to make a channel, knowing that features roll out in waves for everyone, make a broadcast channel. It has been proven time and time again that the early adopters tend to win. Those that hopped on TikTok in 2019, 2020, when we told y'all to get on TikTok, they're the ones probably winning on TikTok now. Not that it's too late for anyone. TikTok's still a great platform, right? You better use it while we got it, right? Um, but with that, we are seeing how these platforms are integrating new community first features. So TikTok, we just share this within our newsletter of they are introducing bulletin boards which go directly to the DMs in TikTok where creators, when you have access to it, currently in beta, you can post updates where your fans can just react to it. They can't respond back, but it kind of serves as a broadcast channel very similarly. If we've already noticed, these platforms copy each other. So um, Instagram has broadcast channels. TikTok now has bulletin boards. YouTube has rolled out its communities feature along with Hype, which is a whole other part of the platform where viewers can pretty much uprank your videos and your content. And there's fan dedicated spaces in the platform. As we could see with all of these, community. Community also goes back to DMs too, right? I've noticed on the Instagram app, they changed the icons. So now, if you have it updated, the button that is center, the button that you see right in the middle is now the DMs button. And that is because the platforms are shifting from the feed, not that it doesn't matter, but from the feed to focusing on community first features. So broadcast channels, DMs. On Instagram, that's going to be your IG stories, which so many people are still underutilizing your stories. Um, Talked about TikTok with bulletin boards. YouTube has communities. Like all of these features, we're going to see these platforms integrate them more and more. Platforms that didn't have necessarily a community component are rolling those out, even like with Threads. On Threads, we recently got DMs for Threads specifically, so that's separate from Instagram. And then Threads also introduced community topics. So you can join different topics where based on interests, hobbies, etc. As you can see, all about community. So it's always been community over content over here. But the content piece obviously matters, right? The creative that you share. I have said this time and time again that the power is in the relevance of your creative, how well it resonates, connects, inspires, entertains, educates, whatever goal you have for what you create, the content will always matter. But it means nothing, absolutely fucking nothing, if you are just posting and ghosting, if you think that you're gonna win by not being social on social, not responding to your comments, or just doing a little fire emoji or heart. I don't know what that is. And If you didn't know, the platforms recognize all of that as spam and not actual engagement. So I would highly recommend, if you are someone who, when someone comments, you just drop an emoji, to start actually caring, because that's a person, aka, right, community, people, social, to be social. The strategist in me can go off on that tangent, but it does matter. Community matters so much. You if you want engagement, give engagement. You want support, give support. I don't know how many times I gotta hammer that in people's heads, but all of these platforms, it is reciprocity. So, whoo, content. Also, platform fatigue is real. So we know that. Also in holiday season, I know I limit my screen time as much as I can. Being always on, it feels, during this time of year, because we're inundated, right, with every brand posting their holiday ads and maximizing, all that final spend for these campaigns. We are inundated with content. I don't know how many millions, billions of posts go up. I know it's probably in the B's, I don't know, per day, but the platform fatigue is real. So you really do have to also focus on, some people will say, be on more platforms versus less. I agree with that, but also too, if you are someone that knows, you cannot, one, you might not be great at the platforms you're activated on. So even if you make a social account on a platform, that doesn't mean you understand the strategy for that platform, because there's a platform strategy, and then every single feature, as the ones I've talked about, also have its own strategy within the platform. So on the strategy side, I mean, probably hundreds of thousands of hours on the marketing and understanding on like how these platforms truly work. I always focus on, when we're building out strategy plans, is quality over platform, like quantity of platforms. So I would much rather you be getting good to great, from beginner to good to great, at 2 or 3 platforms that feel sustainable to you, than feel like, oh, I need to be on 8 different platforms and trying to post everywhere all at once. Scheduling tools exist. So if you do want to amplify what you're doing, there's ways to do that, honestly, for the free, a lot of these scheduling tools. But also, I don't feel like you have to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be on all these platforms. It is more important to be strategic and intentional about the platforms you're on, understanding that at any given time, you have limited time, energy, and bandwidth. And you do got to put time and energy and bandwidth into the platforms you decide to be on. Doesn't matter if you're on Instagram, YouTube, and then you start a newsletter, or maybe you're an artist that's a little bit more established and you got your Discord community and or a Patreon and your newsletter, and then you got, all these platforms. That's great. Start with a couple, with a few, expand, because trust me, the burnout can be real if you are trying to spread yourself way too thin. And then, like, the third tangent on that too is, what was like my third tangent on that? I switched tabs. Was around the platform changes are favoring, as I mentioned, when it comes to, reciprocity, being social on social. They really do favor genuine interaction. Genuine. So please, no more emoji comments for the life of me, y'all. And it really gets me when it be people. Look at me. I was like, it gets me though when it be people that know I be yapping about this, and I'm like, y'all, I really do pay attention to what y'all do. Um, for a lot of artists, especially in creators. So yeah, longer form value too, I think, with the platforms. And then I'm gonna go into a few platforms I really wanted to talk about today. Okay. Um, so with the algorithm changes favoring community, we talked about community first, right? This is where we're at, 2025 into 2026. If you're not building a community, caring about your community, let's change that now. You are going nowhere pretty fast without your community. And everything that everyone wants, like all the opportunities, I keep telling everyone, the brand deals, the the booking opportunities, the clients, the sales, the funnel. It is all at the tail end of you building that community. So, what does this mean for artists, creatives, and brands trying to cut through? I feel like it means everything I said about being really intentional about the platforms you're on and thinking about it as an ecosystem. Like, we got that buzzword, right? World building. We talk about that with the visuals, the content, the storytelling, and all of those things. When you're building a business, it is an ecosystem. And if you're an artist that is trying to monetize off your art, your passions, you have to operate as a business. So I really think, like, if you're trying to cut through in 2026, we're going to talk about a couple platforms of opportunity outside of the usual suspects. Y'all know the big seven. I don't need to go into those. Um, emails, emails and newsletters. I got to talk about it. And this is the live stream where I get to talk about emails a lot more. So, email marketing, I just want everyone to know, email marketing was never dead. It never died. It's been doing its thing. It has been king, okay, queen. I love email marketing so much. Okay. Also, too, we're going to be putting email marketing campaigns into beta on the Uni side early 2026. So if you're currently a Uni client and or ready to be a Uni client, let us know. And we might be able to get you into our beta program for that. Because emails, okay, when we think about organic social, I want to say, if we're being fucking generous, maybe 2 to 3% of your organic social following and seeing your posts. 5% would be really generous. 10%, oh baby, you got to have some really good engagement for that. Um, with that, though, right? Emails, on average, 30 to 40% open rates, pretty historically. I think our newsletter over almost 2 years has never dipped below over like 50%, which is freaking phenomenal. Also, too, social media is just rented real estate. You do not own your Instagram, your YouTube, your Pinterest, none of it. You do not own it. And it takes the platform deciding one time that you did something that was against a term, condition, a guideline, community guideline, and your entire account could be wiped, suspended. Gotta try to appeal it. I have seen it happen to creators that I've worked with on the agency side for different managing brand campaigns, where people have lost like their entire account, and some people have never been able to get those back. So if it's you and you're thinking, okay, if and we have seen this, y'all. So please, this is not like, oh, what if social media went down? And these platforms go down. So when Facebook, WhatsApp goes down, or one of these cloud storage things go offline, the world doesn't know what to do. Okay? And not saying email can't be effective sometimes, but if you are on your social media and you have no way to even know who your customers and fans are, how to reach them, no data or insight about them, that is a problem, especially as we're entering 2026. I would much rather go like invest bandwidth and time and energy into fostering and nurturing my email list and building out that CRM versus just relying on social. I said just. The better bet is to always have ownership over your CRM, your list. I don't even know where I would be if I hadn't immediately started our email list as soon as I was ready to launch. It was part of the strategy. It was never an afterthought. It was always, no, the email list matters, and it matters for this reason. I want to know that when I send you a newsletter, there is probably a 50 to 60% chance of it reaching you and you opening it. Also, statistically, when we think about scrolling on social like this, it's so passive. But emails, if someone gave you their email address, you know, especially because a lot of people are like not opting in as often to a lot of things because of the fatigue. That means they care, engaged, they're invested. Maybe they've purchased something from you already, or maybe they're interested in learning more about what you do, what you offer. Maybe they want to stay in the know of what's coming next. Those are the relationships, the community piece. That's where this starts. The email list is so important. So if you thinking to yourself, damn, I don't got my email list yet, don't worry. Guess what? Because the best next time is right after this live stream. You got winter break. By 2026, you should have your email platform chosen, okay? And get a couple emails, some friends, some family to start. Look, it matters. It matters so much, so much. And I can go on that forever, y'all. I really could. I'm passionate about emails. But one of the platforms that has been blowing up, I'm sure y'all heard of it, um, Substack. One of many email marketing, let's say, platforms. The focus is newsletters, but really Substack is like a content discovery engine ecosystem of itself. There's others, right? Depending on where you want to launch your email list, but Substack is one that I have, like, what, I don't know how many millions of people are using it now, but been following Substack over the past few years of how they've been building, and they doing cool things. We got more even artists moving over to the Substack, even quite recently in the last few weeks. I know Charlie XCX posted on Substack, I think one post, and she got 12,000 subscribers. Yeah, yeah. So that's 12,000 contacts that she now has from one Substack post. Now, everyone's on a different level, phase in their journey, in their business, etc. But I have seen it from growing my own newsletters, helping clients with theirs. 10 people in your newsletter quickly can turn the 50 to 100 to 200 to 1,000 quicker than you think. But also, too, you have to be intentional, you have to prioritize it, and it needs to be a core part of your strategy within your business ecosystem. Doesn't have to be Substack. That's just one that I'm seeing a lot of conversation around. A lot of these platforms are definitely developing, adding new features. When it comes to being able to monetize via your newsletter, Substack is a platform that you can do that on. Another platform I would highly recommend looking into is Beehive. I am not affiliated with them, but I love Beehive as a personal testimonial. I've been on Beehive for about 2 years, and similarly, I have caught it in a stage of rapid development, and they're doing some really cool freaking things that I'm excited to use as we continue to scale and grow. But newsletters are definitely the new blogs as in 2025 as we're moving into 2026, and it matters so much. And I alluded to all the reasons why. Another reason why I also want to bring up newsletters is because of SEO, searchability, discoverability on these platforms. So, when we are thinking about the chat GPTs, the Claudes, even if you go on Google search, you will see the search pages, speaking of Google search, looks different. Now, when I go on Google search, and a lot of people aren't using Google for like looking things up, I still do because I use everything. But now I'm seeing like the AI recommendations first. If you go on Claude, Chat GPT, and you're like researching stuff, it's gonna pull in newsletters, articles, links to things. It will recommend newsletters within different niches, interests, etc. So it really does matter. And in 2026, especially moving forward than ever before. We talk about own channels a lot on the agency side. So a newsletter and having access to your own CRM, right? Where you have those emails, those contacts. Also too, and this isn't part of like I was going to talk about as a platform. We did talk about this in our community building one, but I can't mention email without also mentioning SMS. So similarly, as these platforms continue to change, there's other tools you can utilize that might have email plus SMS capabilities in one integrated tool. Some of those that I've tried, tested, and or have used include Laylo, Symphony, um, Community I've used in the past on the agency side for brand partners. Lots of tools that you can use and integrate. SMS also too goes along with owning, right? Those relationships, that data, and building those lists. If we thought email was popping, okay, SMS, yeah. Okay. I think the open rates on SMS is like, I don't know. I have to look it back up. Maybe 80 to 90% because everyone's on their phone. And if someone more than an email gives you their phone number, they want your updates right to their phone. Okay. Why are we not taking advantage of this? We got to use the tools that we have. Okay. So y'all can build the lives, the careers, the businesses of your dreams. Um, but yeah, I could talk about Substack emails all day. Another one that I wanted to mention, and I feel I have been on it so much this year, is Reddit. Okay. And I know everyone's in a different phase, different journey. I got a mixed, diverse audience of insiders here. But Reddit, I honestly feel like Reddit's like I'm just like, I just feel like Reddit's the last real community platform. I go on Reddit for everything. I'm talking about, hey, what are y'all talking about this Netflix show that just came out? I'll go on Reddit and like just go deep dive and just talk to people talking about this show. I'm in music marketing Reddit all the time. I don't like actively respond as much, but I do go on there and like see what people are having conversations about. Sometimes that informs even topics that we cover on the agency side, or like, ooh, like, hey, I noticed a lot of artists or people in the music biz have been talking about this. Maybe we should do a masterclass on that topic. Reddit might be so perfect for so many people. If you're an artist, yeah, there's so many artists on Reddit, producers, creatives. Um, but you have to be very intentional about Reddit. Like, same thing, you have to go there to authentically engage, not just go on there to spam and add your link or whatever. A lot of these subreddits have moderators to where you'll get flagged for that stuff anyway, but it's also a place where you can have conversations and where you can also provide value without selling. Artists that could be talking to another artist. It could be like, hey, what mic are y'all using for this or that? And people can like obviously talk to each other about, hey, equipment recommendations or something. See that all the time. There's also niche communities on Reddit. So if I gotta give an example. I mean, like, let me say, like, Korean, like, beauty. That's one that I go into. I love K beauty. Okay, I love learning about ingredients and products and all that fun beauty stuff. That's an example of a niche community. I talked about, me going into Netflix Reddit all the time for movie stuff. So it's about finding your niche communities, music production, specific genres, creative entrepreneurship. These are all subreddits on Reddit to where they already interested in the same thing you are, you know? Brands should definitely be on Reddit. Period. I don't care what type of brand you are, if you're fashion, skincare, shoot, you got a cologne, Reddit. Cuz it is a gem of insights. a gem of conversations. What are people talking about? So those are just a few ways that you can use it. I would recommend just like looking into it. Choose your threads wisely. There's so many rabbit holes, but I truly believe there is a strategy play for Reddit for a lot of artists, creators, and brands that focuses on the community building piece more than anything. So, yes, the next thing that I wanted to talk about as we enter about 40 minutes in, I'm doing good, I'm doing good, is Patreon. I am not yet on Patreon in terms of having my own account, selling things or community, but definitely opted into a bunch of different Patreons to support other people, creatives and artists that I love. Patreon also too is another platform that has continued to develop and release some really incredible features. We just reported on one in our insiders newsletter around Quips, which is similar to it's like a social discovery feed. So now similarly, Patreon has been so focused on community in that enclosed space that Quips is going to be a way where new creators, other users can discover your account, your community, and your space. So Patreon is definitely doing some really cool things. It's a platform strategy for when you are ready to monetize your true fans. Now, I often get a question of, well, when does it make sense to launch these things? I feel like everything is a signal. If you already know that you've been building like your email list, if you have, let's say you're an artist that has, you know, performed dozens of shows and sold out tickets or released your own merch, if you know for a fact that you are, building revenue from sustainable recurring revenue from your super fans in some way, shape, or fashion, that might be the signal that it might be time to introduce that community platform piece. It's usually something, obviously, when it start with, if folks are giving you $5, $10, $50 a month, I mean, there are some communities where people are paying 75, 150, 200 a month. You're super fans. $5 to $200, it doesn't matter. They need to be, as we talked about, how you nurture those relationships. And then from the relationships you nurture, there's a subset of fans who take that action. Those are likely the ones that would opt in to a platform like this. And I think with Patreon, I won't get too deep because there is a whole other strategy play with Patreon that we build out for our clients. But there's also tier strategy. So if you have 2 or 3 tiers, you want to make sure that you are giving value at every single level and you can deliver on consistently what you are promising your community. Because there is also a lot of folks start Patreons, they get people opted in, but they aren't showing up for the community that they're cultivating. That is a problem, and you'll quickly find out that people will not stay within your community. So it's also something that you do not want to start if you're not ready to add on that component. Um, Community spaces, like usually, like there are some people who will just do like a $5, $10 tier just to support the artist and or creator or brand and not care about anything, and they just want to support. I've seen that so many times. But usually you're going to want to make sure, like, hey, in the $5 tier you get this, $10 tier you get this, and you, your team, your organization, y'all can sustainably consistently deliver on those, period. I think that's so important, especially with Patreon. I mean, even launching a Discord, which is we talked about that a lot already, but goes along with Discord, right? If you are launching, let's say a free Discord, and you are telling your community you're gonna go live with them once a month, you're gonna have like list exclusive events, etc. And then you get all these people excited and you get them into your Discord and you just do nothing. That's a problem. So I talk about these platforms to let y'all know, hey, they exist. There's all the tools and resources that you need to build your creative business. Um, but you got to make sure you're choosing your platform strategically. For example, we have not launched our Uni Discord yet because the like my phase one strategy does not include Discord because I am focused in my own funnel, right? Awareness, discovery, moving the insiders community down, nurturing relationships, which includes live streams like this. And then, okay, when we announce the Discord, I already know there's going to be dozens, hundreds of people that opt in. We get in there. So stay tuned for that. Another platform that I wanted to make sure that I bring up because I know our community is filled with so many incredible artists and creatives. Very true. Reddit is so good. Yes, I am viewing. I'm checking the comments on Instagram. Okay, okay. So, um, please yap with me. I love answering y'all's comments. Feedback, thoughts, questions. I could talk about Reddit for the rest of the time. I really could. But if y'all want to yap about Reddit offline, follow me, okay? At all that jazz, XX underscore, shameless plug. But yeah, we could chat about Reddit stuff. I love Reddit. I'm gonna go on there later. I'm gonna go on there later. Next platform I wanted to talk about, especially because our insiders community is filled with artists, creatives. I know we got labels following us, artist management companies, music organizations that are some of our clients too. Even Biz, a lot of people by now have heard of them. I feel like 2024, 2025, like their team, like what they have built out, the number of artists that have been able to really build, their own community on that platform. The case studies, phenomenal. But it really is an all-in-one platform for music professionals and creatives. I have a few clients that have done some even campaigns as well too. And cool thing about it, similar to like a Bandcamp or a Patreon, you can, build out, your bundles, your tiers, what they might get if they opt in for this amount or that amount. And it's just gotten even more just fancy. Whether you are offering exclusive downloads, or some artists have offered like, hey, if you buy at this tier you also get like a 15-minute virtual call with me, or a free ticket to the virtual live stream party. There's so many things you can do on these platforms. Even's really cool. It's one to look into often, and it's also a platform I say you have to definitely think about when you launch an even campaign. Like, there's some signals you should look for that. The goal is for your campaign to be successful and to generate revenue. So if you have not been doing the creative piece and getting your content out there, eyes, ears, discovery, if you haven't been nurturing these relationships, which is why I tell y'all this matters so much, launching an even campaign probably wouldn't be successful because it's all about limited time windows driving revenue. So if you have not been doing the funnel, it probably wouldn't be successful. So if you are just starting out green, I probably wouldn't recommend even right away. It's one that I would say keep an eye on this. You put it into your release strategy when you're ready to monetize. But yeah, so networking, collaboration opportunities, visibility in one space, that's even. And, it definitely, we already talked about like why this matters for emerging artists, industry connections. But there are other platforms like Bandcamp that is freaking phenomenal. I feel for artists, they're still, I would say, it's underrated. So underrated. I know because I follow thousands of artists. a lot of them don't have Bandcamp accounts. Are they're only active when it's like a Bandcamp Friday, which I feel defeats the purpose long term. Because Bandcamp, I spend money. So when I go on Bandcamp, I'm going on there to spend money. AKA, if you actually nurture your Bandcamp account and be active in that community and really utilize it intentionally, not just when it's a Bandcamp Friday and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Bandcamp Friday this week, and you talk about it once. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you build a real freaking campaign around it, you can drive some revenue. Um, but yeah, and it can be part of your evergreen strategy. Like your Bandcamp profile bundles, products should always be up there. And especially if you do not have your own website, I would recommend something like Bandcamp. And then a couple things on overlooked platforms. I think because I'm trying to keep this as broad as possible, I feel we talked about a lot of them already. But if there's any other platforms that you guys are excited about, curious about, interested about, let us know in the comments. If you're catching the replay, drop a comment on the replay. Hey Jazz, would love to learn more about this one, or what are your thoughts on XYZ? Always down to provide recommendations, point y'all in the right directions, because as I mentioned, I'm only talking about what, a dozen of the social plus community platforms that exist. There are so many more. But for the sake of me keeping this within our allotted time, I can't talk about every single one today. So if you need more help with really facilitating, building out a personalized creative slash brand strategy that's designed for you, hit us up. Um, we love, love, love working with artists, creatives, and brands to really hone in on the creative strategy that makes sense for your goals, um, especially because everyone's completely different. What does success look like for you? Who is your audience, and then where are they active on? These are all questions that we go through with our clients on the UNE side. So I wish I could chat about more of them, but I will put our QR code on the screen. Okay. So y'all can go to our website. You can learn more about some of the work that we do, some of our offerings, portfolio, all that good stuff. And yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before I wrap up today is, and we talked about it a little bit, but moving audiences to your own spaces. Already said social media is rented land. It's rented real estate. You don't own these. I don't own my Instagram, and I'm working so hard, okay, to build it, but I don't own it. So you see what I'm saying? I'm speaking right to myself. So that is why those own spaces matter. Whether it's your email list, maybe you're ready to activate SMS, your website. I believe everyone should have a website, a landing page, a portfolio, something that you own. The pathway, right? It's all a funnel. We like to call it the fan or the customer journey in marketing, but it's a funnel, and you can't skip the steps, y'all. Trust me, I've been doing this 13 years and not a step has been skipped, because it really doesn't work long term. At the end of the day, it all starts with that discovery piece, right? How are people finding out about you? Most of the time, social media. And now, what, 2026 we're entering? From there, they might see a post one or two times. They may be like, oh, this is kind of catchy. Let me go follow this account. But then, engagement. This is where you really got to nurture these fans, these audiences, right? The community piece. This is where that all matters. So most of the time, someone's not going to listen to you once and then be like a diehard fan for life. Followers also aren't fans. So if you say, I have 10,000 followers, that's great. It's a signal. It is a freaking signal. But I promise you, I guarantee you that you do not have 10,000 fans. All 10,000 of those followers are not engaged. I would say it's a very slim percentage, maybe 10%. that's really engaged if you really look at your numbers. So it is a pathway, it is a journey. It is one that you cannot shortcut, you cannot skip. A lot of people try to hack it. I don't have hacks. I tell people I don't got hacks for you. I don't got no shortcuts. These are people, humans. You either want to really build for the long term, or chestnut checkers. And the ones who win, they're focused on their community, those relationships. A brand is nothing without its customers. A business is nothing without its clients. An artist, nothing without the people that support them. It all goes back to this. So, website, email list, blog, newsletters, you have to figure out, and I can't answer it for everyone, but if you need some help, okay, now reach out to us on the U&E side, okay, and we'll get you right. You have to really figure out what matters most for your goals, your specific goals. If you are an entrepreneur, maybe a solopreneur for your business. If you're a larger brand or organization, the goals for your company, your team. An artist, what are your goals for success, your vision? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself 5, 10 years doing, etc. And figuring out, okay, what really matters most for what we're doing and where we want to get to. It might not be all of them, but it sure needs to be a combination of something. Okay. And also, as we're talking about the funnel that converts, we're thinking about strategic creative distribution. So, talked about this earlier in our live stream. When we're working with our clients, something that we are so on about is when we're creating strategies that we limit the number of platforms. We typically do 4 to 5 platforms max, but their core strategy might have, okay, here's your 3 primary platforms. Because our goal is to do multi-platform coordination without burnout. Our mission is to empower y'all to achieve your full potential. And that cannot happen if the strategy that we're giving you is unsustainable. So, that's why I said it is better to go from beginner to good to great at 2 or 3 platforms max. I say, and we talked about this. I can't remember what masterclass it was now, but I'll say it again. It's like go from beginner good to great with just a few platforms. I promise you, 2 to 3 max. I always recommend one short form platform, right? The Reels, the TikToks. Now, most of the platforms have integrated short form video. This was not always the case a few years ago. A long form platform. So that could look like, I recommend for most people, probably like a YouTube. But maybe you love writing and that's a strong suit. I could say like a long form platform. If not YouTube, could be your blog, right? Or newsletter. So we got to really pick a few platforms for your goals. But the goal is to not stretch yourself out too thin. And then repurposing your creative, y'all, repurpose your creative. Even if you just tweak in the caption, or hey, I actually just want to like add a different hook here, etc. Or oh, let me maybe shorten it and cut this up into 2 clips, or whatever it looks like for you. There's a way to repurpose and tailor your creative to fit the platforms. So we do it on the agency side all the time. That could look like we turn a social post into a long form newsletter. Or hey, we're going to turn this carousel into a written thread. So there are ways that you can already using what you already created to repurpose intelligently. And then the hub and spoke model for us is always your website. Couldn't be the strategist that I am and not highly recommend, as we are now in 2026, to have a website, landing page, own domain space of some form. I'm not saying you need to invest thousands, hundreds into a website. Baby, we got a lot of tools. I can recommend some. But everyone should have a website. a command setter where people can find you, learn about you, contact you. For artists, creators, when we're thinking about these opportunities, brands too, right? Obviously, like if you have a brand or business, having a website, it's going to be a great thing for you. um, but for artists and creatives, when we're thinking about, oh, I want a show opportunity, or oh, this playlist curator I just pitched to, they literally, outside of your social media, they're gonna go to your website. And industry professionals, they really do expect you to have a website, period. And no, a link tree is not your website. That is a tool. Okay, we like tools, but it's not your website. Um, so yeah, that is kind of the only other thing I wanted to yap about before I wrap this up was taking action, what conversion actually looks like. So I'm just going to break it down what it could look like. So for artists, this could look like fans joining your community space, whether it's a Discord, a Patreon, a group. There's others out there in the world. Merchant product releases, right? If you are releasing a merch collection to accompany your EP or album release, or perhaps you're getting ready to go on tour or do a number of shows, so you want to have stuff available. Streaming conversions. So, from people that obviously follow you, engage with you, see your content, is that correlating to streaming growth in any form? Show attendance, baby, because hard ticket sales, okay. People be thinking they got something popping until they can't sell no tickets. So, real facts, real facts. Show attendance, I think, get period. Because if you get someone to invest a good date night out, I'm telling you, they must really love you. For creatives, this can look like client acquisition. Whether that's you're a DJ or photographer and you're utilizing socials, website, your digital ecosystem to gain new booking opportunities, or if you're a photographer, new clients. Obviously, visuals, okay. Portfolio engagement goes right along with that. It could be workshop signups, course downloads for creatives. Maybe you sell a product or service. For brands and organizations, this could look like partnership inquiries, program enrollment, membership enrollment, community memberships, outreach, etc. Um, what this really comes down to, though, is the metrics that actually matter beyond likes and follows. So there's more of them on the socials that will really give you those insights. I would also just like pay attention to, your analytics. I think they're signals. And if you maybe don't pay attention to those, I highly just recommend taking a look and maybe seeing, hey, what creative really is driving the most comments or engagement, what pieces of my content, what formats are driving the most action metrics. So we talk about vanity metrics, which are like the likes, the follows. Action metrics are the ones that someone takes an action. Okay, so I say we always focus on saves, shares, and now we have reposts on like Instagram. Save, shares, reposts, comments, I still think do matter so much for reasons that we talked about earlier. There's one more I'm missing. DMs are big too. So DMs are a conversion metric in itself too, for yeah, as a signal. Um so okay, this is what y'all's homework is. Think about the platforms that you're on, and I encourage y'all to match your platforms to specific goals. So let's say it's for you, it might be Instagram for awareness. It could be Instagram or TikTok. Let's say that. And then versus conversion, your newsletter, because newsletters convert. historically higher than social would. And then for your community platform, you're going to do Discord. So think about the platforms that you're on, what goal, what function they serve, and how is it building your ecosystem and moving your audiences and your community down that journey through that funnel that we talked about. You want to have, like I said, your primary platforms, your secondary platforms, and then, okay, this is going to be a platform I experiment on. So my experimental platform, I don't know, it might be Reddit next year for the agency, as an example. But we have our primary and our secondary platforms lined up, and that's it. Just, I promise y'all, when you have your resource allocation, you know where to focus your time, your energy, and you also know at what point of the funnel should you maybe introduce a platform and hold off on waiting. Um, Another thing that I think is so important is we talked about repurposing, distributing strategically. If you posted something on TikTok and you are afraid to post it on your IG, please don't. I please don't. There are ways that you can strategically repurpose your content across platforms, whether that's a TikTok to YouTube Shorts or a YouTube Shorts to an IG Reel, or a newsletter to a thread. There are so many ways that y'all can strategically do it without burning yourself out and making sure that it's still platform specific, and tailored to the platform. Last note on creative, right? The funnel can't be driven without the awareness piece. So eyes, ears on your work, your art, your music, etc. We talk about this with our clients all the time. We have seen how well it works when they do this. Batch creation for sustainable consistency is the gem. I really want to, it has helped not even just our clients, personally as a creator, entrepreneur myself, having time allocated, like a meeting to yourself where you, for 2 to 4 hours, you go and batch a bunch of creative, whether that's, hey, I'm gonna go do a few visualizers in 2 3 locations and just get a month worth of content for my EP, or something I do. I block my calendar and I work on, hey, I'm only batch creating in Canva for these 2 hours. Or, I'm only working on newsletter writing for these 2 hours so I can write like 4 or 5 newsletters. It has allowed me to be consistent and it's sustainable. So consistency and sustainability are two different things. You don't have, like for example, you do not have to post every single day to be consistent. That's not that can be consistency if that's what you can sustain. If you telling me that you're gonna post, I don't know, 5 times this week, and then the next 2 weeks it's nothing because you can't sustain that, I would much rather you post 3 times a week, knowing that you can fully 100% commit to those 3 posts every week versus the opposite. And the platforms also too take notice of this stuff. So yeah, I think we yapped through everything. So just to tie this up, okay, and I did pretty good on time. But recap. Some key takeaways. Community first approach is going to win in 2026. If you missed our community building masterclass, highly recommend that you go on our YouTube, catch that, because we dive all things community in that masterclass. And it's filled with gems. Because I love community, I'm passionate about it. Emerging platforms we talked about, including Substack, Reddit, EvenBiz, Patreon, and we know there's many, many more. Your own spaces are truly your conversion foundation. Email list, SMS. In 2026, it is a non negotiable to not have a website, landing page, okay, something, portfolio, and having an email list started. I don't think there's about no one where I wouldn't say you shouldn't have an email list. So, email list. If you need more support with your email marketing, creative strategy, y'all already know where you can find us on the UNE side. I'm going to put our QR code up on the screen right here. Use your phone, opt into the Insiders newsletter. That is where we share the latest UNE news, timely industry opportunities, deeper marketing insights, gems, upcoming events, all goes in our newsletter first. So if you're not yet subscribed, opt in. Okay. We love talking about emails over here. And then we are going to have our final live stream of 2025, December 9th, back at 12 p.m. PST for what I have been waiting all year for 2026 social media predictions. Okay. I got a whole list of what I feel, got some crowdsourced from the team on what we all feel 2026 is going to look like, especially as we're talking about social media, community, experiential, all of it. So excited to connect with y'all again here in a couple of weeks. Also, we're gonna drop a newsletter, okay, with a very special bonus for our fall LTOs. We got a bunch of inquiries, okay, because we only have 3 spots left for the year as we are prepared to close our books for 2025. So we talked about all things platform strategy, which platform should you be on, tools, resources. If you are feeling inspired and are ready for a complete platform audit, we have those 3 spots left for our fall LTOs. Our fast action bonus, we're going to drop those deets in our newsletter, okay? But it includes a special freaking bonus for only 3 people, some extra special VIP teacher treatment. So our 2 fall LTOs, the first one combines 2 of our a la carte offerings, which is our social media audit, comprehensive platform audit, where our team does a deep dive on your socials, your website, whatever active channels you're on, and we audit, deep dive, pull out insights, takeaways, recommendations, and put that all together in an action plan. Plus, it also includes a bonus strategic consultation session with myself or a dedicated member of the UNE team as we enter the top of the year post holiday. The second LTO is for our virtual VIP days. VIP days we rolled out in 2024. They have been super popular because they are intensive one-on-one strategy sessions where we work with you, your team to move the needle and or complete a project transformation in one intensive session. So these are half-day sessions for our fall LTO. So we work with you over 3 to 4 hours for the core session, and then our team does some work on the side, but you can use these for custom projects. Some clients in the past have used these for EP album planning. So if you have a EP that you're rolling out next spring, now's probably the time, okay, by January to start working on that plan, right? So it can be used for that. Other clients have used them for quarterly social planning, just to map out their strategy for the next 3 months. Others have used them for event campaign planning because they want to do an event in that next quarter. So we just focused on the event strategy during that session and provided them with tools, resources, strategy plan, all that good stuff. The fast action bonus is only available through this Friday, 11/28. It expires at midnight, so don't sleep on it. But with that, you get some special freebies. One of them is 30 days of extra support. So once your session's done, you get your action plan. It's not just goodbye. You'll be able to have access to our team via Slack and email for an additional 30 days. And then you also get priority onboarding once we come back mid-January. So you can hit Q1 off on the winning foot, okay? So final reminder, join us live for our final live stream of 2025, December 9th, 12 p.m. PST for 2026 social media trends and predictions. You will not, okay, want to miss what's coming as I said, I talked about a lot, and that's just what's been happening this year. As we enter 2026, we're going to see more of all the things we talked about, but some other things a lot of us on the strategist marketing side have been talking about for what seems like many months. But shifts are here, and I cannot wait to be back chatting with y'all live in a couple weeks. As always, thank you for all the insiders who tuned in live today. Love, love, love getting an opportunity to come on here, connect with everyone, live streaming on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're catching the replay, all love, drop a comment. Okay, let us know a gem, insight, takeaway, your favorite part. Be sure to subscribe to the Uni YouTube channel. That is where all of our future insider masterclasses, along with our conversation series, Industry Trailblazer Chat lives. And yeah, I think that is it for my spiel today. This was so phenomenal. I love y'all so freaking much. And on that note, I'll see you soon.